Alright, what is up, guys? We're gonna go ahead and do a personal thoughts on the Season 7 update notes, and really, let's just dive right into it. First thing we have skins. A lot of these look really good. A lot of the design team have been absolutely killing it, as far as I'm concerned, on the new skins and stuff. The ones that I saw in game, the Fenrir skin looks really good. The Morgan skin looks good because it's the one that's, like, in my opinion, different from all the other ones. I like the effects of the Soul skin. And what was the other one that I was crazy about? Oh, the Bacchus skin. And the Kakolan skin. Obviously, being a non-tank player, the only ones I'm really excited about are tanks. Like, look at this. How could you not want to buy this? But then we get to the new DLC. This is something that is introduced this year. It has never been in Smite before. They're doing a Season Pass 2020. It is a one-time purchase of the entire season, and it basically is 1,000 gems. That's all it is. No. You okay? We don't know how much it is yet. You get 1,000 gems. Excuse me. You get a skin, a loading screen, and it provides every single god as long as you don't have them already. It locks the new gods that will be released in 2020, gives you their base recolor, a new limited recolor that you can only get if you own the season pass, and their emotes. And there's a better version of this if you are the kind of person who does not own the god pack. That gives you every single god in the game. Scrolling down, we're probably not going to talk about bugs in this patch because there's just way too many bugs and everything like that to talk about. So we're going to skip over that and go to the Project Olympus updates. So daily login updates, I feel like this changes all the time. Like, right whenever they changed the UI, it was instant. As soon as you logged in, you got your favor or gems, depending on which day of the week you were. And then it stopped doing it. Then you had to go to the store, click claim. It's just unneeded. This changes that. Good stuff. Good stuff. New tags on home screen. Cool. This is awful. This right here. So, good thing for the OCD people that like to get rid of that new tag. Engine updates. Basically, all this is they're saying that they cut down on the sizing of the game to download and updates and everything like that. The game will now look better without having to download the high quality texture pack. Stuff like that. Like, this is a good change because it could also help players that don't have the greatest internet to download the game faster or download updates faster. It could also help, hopefully, knock on wood, players with not as good PCs to be able to run the game and run it smoothly, yada yada. This change, I'm not a fan of this change. A lot of players have been asking for this forever, but if you know me and watch my stuff, I'm not a fan of surrendering. I think 90% of games that are surrendered were winnable at one point. So I'm not a fan of this. There's a lot of people that, if you're going to F6 a game, they're not going to not vote. They're going to press F6. So them not voting is them basically saying no. So 3 yes, 1 no, and 1 not voted. That not voted counts as a yes. And you will surrender the game. Hate it, but we'll move on. VGS Attack the Minions is now in the game for all of the game modes, not just something like Arena. It could be good because you could be sitting in lane with your support as an ADC and type VAN to try to get them to like understand, like, hey, hard push this wave, we need it back. stuff like that. I guess it could be useful in that kind of sense. The new mini-map icons, whenever it comes to the like Oni buff minions or fire minions, you can now see that they are what they are on the mini-map. Best thing they could have done for the new Gold Fury changes with Oni waves, or if you have a Phoenix down, fire waves, or, you know, a combination of both. You can now see what that wave is. If it's just a regular wave, just an Oni wave, just a fire wave, or if it's an Oni fire wave. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. I like it. Oh, excuse me. Players will now get jungle camp mini-map information immediately when they view an enemy kill. Nice! So, okay, what this basically means is if someone kills a buff that you're standing right in front of and they don't pick up the buff, it leaves this gray buff with the timer around the buff. To be able to get that timer, you have to sit there until the timer makes the buff drop off the ground. And then you'll get the jungle camp timer that you and your teammates can all see. That is a good change, because either you have to sit there and wait for it to go away to get the timer, or you have to run away, go do something, and then walk back over it to be able to get the timer. That's a great change. I like that a lot. What is all this? Oh, new skins added to the awesome godlike battle chest. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. I'm not going to go over which is added. There's a lot of skins that are added. Good stuff, though. This mode, or this change, is probably bigger than a lot of people realize, because some of the mages or even hunters that almost can get every single creep in one of their abilities now can, because apparently it's a slight bug that they said. They said apparently whenever they're walking the lane, they'll bump into each other, and then whenever they get to lane and stand, it messes the way they're supposed to stand up. So they get that fixed. That's good. Good stuff. Jump into the meat and potatoes. Added a new jungle, or a new objective to the jungle called the Jungle Shrine. Basically all this is, every time you clear a camp, it adds a stack to the Jungle Shrine. The Jungle Shrine is placed in between speed buff and your back harpies. It's attached to the rock that is there. So let's say I make a rotation. I go speed, back camps, blue buff. If I go to mid, go to red buff, and let's say I get poked or something and I back. I cleared speed, backs, blue. Let's say I didn't go mids and I went straight to red to make sure it didn't get invaded. We did 4 camps. That's 4 stacks on your Jungle Shrine. 3 auto attacks, and we consume 4 stacks there, which every stack is 5 gold. That gold is every person on your team. My team just got 20 gold. I actually really like this. It's something that you can just get down. It's something that you can just get down. It's something that you can just almost drive by the Jungle Shrine. It takes 3 auto attacks to kill. It's actually really interesting. I'm interested to see how this plays out in the game. Okay. So this is the new camp that they added to the duo lane. It is basically the tankiness of an Oracle, but hits harder than an Oracle. I believe on patch notes they showed an Odin hitting it, and every swipe was hitting him for 25, and that was with him being level 20. And I don't think the power scales up or anything like that. So 25 damage a hit early game is, you know, a huge commitment. So this is their idea to bring the duo lane back. I like it. I'm really eager to see how it plays. There's 1 on each side of the duo lane, so it's not 1 in the middle that you have to fight over. Each team gets 1. Um. Mid camps. Split the yeah. So mid camps now have a split on the left side of mid, if you're on the K or order side, where mid harpies, there's one side which is Fire Giant side to contest. Both teams contest one, and then on the Gold Fury side, each team has a mid harpy that they can clear themselves. So that's cool. It gives one side of safety, one side of neutral. So that's cool. Also, XP split bonus increased from 20 to 25%. They want to reward grouping, even though we saw a lot of grouping in Season 6 with the 3-man splitting. So, I mean, even with the map being super spread out, not that the map's bigger, everything's just more spread out, and they want people to still encourage grouping. I like it. Okay, so this is where they took speed and purple buff and made them spawn way earlier. So speed buff isn't crazy earlier, but 3.25 seconds. Purple buff, 12.3 seconds earlier. So now, there's going to be a lot of different options that can happen. Like, mid and jungle can standard start at speed, and after speed buff, he can go to mid. Jungle can go do his own thing, kind of like normal. It just happens a little earlier, so the mid doesn't miss any creeps in mid. Purple buff. Dual lane starts in purple buff, most likely. There's no way to put it, because wave hits at 30 seconds. You get 10 seconds to clear this thing in dual lane. That's sick. I'm eager to see how this plays out. Everything else is shortened slightly, it looks like, except for mid harpies. Mid harpies got an increase a little bit, but everything else spawns slightly sooner. Not really going to go over this. All this is every single creep is tankier. This doesn't really matter for jungle clear, like a jungler's clear, because they have Assassin's Blessing. But for everyone else, this just makes it even harder to clear. Like, for an ADC, this is an extra auto attack. For a mage, this could be 3 auto attacks or another rotation of your ability early game. This is something that I've been asking for so long in Smite. Decrease team gold reward of tier 1 and tier 2 towers. 100 and 300 to 100 to 75, 300 to 250. If you get Fire Giant and sweep tier 2 towers, that's like a 6,000 gold swing. You could back to base, buy items, and easily siege with a massive team swing. It's crazy to me. Like, I can't believe that a tier 2 tower lasted this long being 300 gold. I've asked for it for so long. Glad it's finally in the game. Really, really happy to see how this plays out. The Totemaku got nerfed. It scales with the game now. 10 MP5 0 to 5 minutes, 20 MP5 5 to 10 minutes, 30 MP5 10 to 15 minutes. I'm gonna miss the 30 mana at first wave. Really. So, like, instead of spamming my abilities and knowing that I'm gonna have infinite mana if my solo laner gets totem, it's just smarter this way. I understand that this is a good change, I think. Jungle buff changes. Mana, they removed flat MP5, and it's basically now Mage's Blessing passive without the extra damage to minions. That's it. UMP5 for 10% missing mana. Red buff, they remove 5% power bonus versus enemy gods. Speed buff added 10% crowd control reduction. Probably the only stat they could have given a jungler without re-breaking speed buff after they've nerfed it so many times. I get it. And I think it's more of a late game change than an early game change. I think I mean, that's just my opinion, but we'll see how it plays out. As an ADC, this is what we've been asking for. Attack speed buff back to the duo lane. It is now they removed the 5% prot reduction, and now it is removed negative or +2 protection reduction per enemy god. Okay, so it's still a protection reduction item. It's just flat. It's -10 protection reduction, if I remember correctly. And an aura around you. It's not per enemy god. It's just a flat, like 55 unit protection reduction around you. And now 10% attack speed. So now ADCs now have their own dedicated buff, or Sylvanas has their own dedicated buff. Joust. We don't play Joust. We play Duel. Ooh! Happy about that. Nice. Okay, new variance system where basically favors you for being on win streaks. And if you're on a win streak and lose one, you don't get hit nearly as hard. I like it. I mean, it's good stuff. Specialist Blessing, I mean, 10 HP 5. It's a small buff. I don't really use these because I don't play many games other than Conquest. Guardian's Blessing. This is a big adjustment, but it's a good adjustment. This is not play a Guardian in solo lane and buy Guardian's Blessing anymore and just watch the wave die. Can't do that because to stack it, you have to be by an allied god. Now, as long as you're within 60 units of an enemy god, or not enemy, I'm sorry, of a teammate, you now have a constant 7 HP 5 and 7 MP 5 increase. Doesn't matter if you're killing minions around you or not, that's just always active as long as you're within 60 units of an allied god, and it lasts for 10 seconds. So let's say you have your boots online and you want to make a rotation to mid. You have 10 seconds to book it there to keep this HP 5 and MP 5 stat going. 5% increase to Assassin's Blessing. They get a little bit more damage on creeps to make up for the tankier jungle camps, I guess. So this is really interesting. The new Vision Shard. Level 1 through 12, or at the start of the game, you get to buy a free relic. Whatever that relic is, whether it's beads, Aegis, blink, shell, sprint, teleport, whatever it is, you get to buy a free one. In your second slot, in the past, it was always just a empty slot that you would purchase another one at level 12. Now, the new Vision Shard, it replaces that and gives you a small ward that you can place without a with a shorter range. You can't place it as far out in front of you. Wards have a 1 minute duration instead of the normal 2 minute duration on a normal ward that you would buy, with a 2 minute cooldown. If you kill them with a sentry, they give no gold. You can still teleport to the wards if you upgrade teleport, and your wards count toward the normal ward limit. So it encourages early game warding, but I'm really eager to see how this works whenever it comes to early game jungling. Like, I have to see it played, because I don't think a jungler is going to be able to get a gank off unless we have like Thor, Thanatos, Ratatosk, or the global or semi-global assassin ults that can ult from like Gold Fury or ult from Fire Giant Pit because of where the wards would be placed. So I'm eager to see how that works. Hand of the Gods back in the game, boys, except it's in a lot more toned down, and it's in a consumable. I'm having a stroke. 100 gold. deals 150 true damage around you. It scales with Assassin's Blessing, so you get amplify this by 40% if you are an assassin using this with Assassin's Blessing. Everyone can buy this, not just assassins. Like a support can buy this if they want to make sure you can secure your purple buff at the beginning of the game. But keep in mind, it's a consumable. You can't carry as many potions. It's a trade-off, but it's back in the game. People have asked for it back in the game. It's just came back in a little bit weakened of a state and a consumable. So glad to see it back. You can't, oh yeah, only affects monsters on your side of the jungle. You can't invade with this. It's more of a I want to secure my buffs type of consumable, and I like it. They're trying to mitigate the invade meta that we just went through in season 6. This is awesome. They took both potions of physical and magical, scrapped them, and combined them into one. This potion now gives you 70 magical power and 40 physical power, 10% CDR. That's insane. This 10% CDR was on the magical one, but the physical counterpart gets CDR now too. That's huge. It could allow you to build another item that you wouldn't be able to build if you wanted full cooldown now. So that's sick change. I love this change. Ha! The moment we've all been waiting for. Chalice of Healing Potion. They don't stack anymore. They just stack on top of each other. They don't heal you at the same time. This is needed for solo lane. You could never kill somebody in the early game because of Chalice and 5 healing pots. Like, it just doesn't work. I'm glad they made this change. It's good to see. Same thing with this. Can't do the same thing with Chalice and Mana, but who buys this awful item anyways? On to items. Mystical Mail. I will definitely take a 250 gold decrease for losing 100 health. I like seeing this item built. Granted, I'm an ADC and I don't like people just walking at me and getting damaged, but nonetheless, it's an interesting item, to say the least. I'm glad this item got a hefty price reduction so we can see it in play. This is worth buying now, 100%. Witchblade, I don't really think this is enough of a buff to pick it up. Maybe in absolute certain comps it's worth picking up, but it is what it is. Maybe we'll see it built. Shogun's Kusari. As an ADC, this is my favorite item for my support or solo lane, whoever is sitting near me, to be picking up, because it helps me out a lot, especially if I'm building crit and haven't built into a lot of attack speed. Great item. Love it. 5% attack speed buff, aura. Increase. I like it. Can't wait to see more people building it. Sov. This is a personal HP 5 buff. 10 increase. It's good. Artwort. This is the aura MP5 increase. We'll probably see this item built a lot more this season. Not this. Excuse me. This definitely helps. Get down. I'm eager to see what it does. I'm expecting mages to be a little bit more meta, but we'll get there in a minute. Dynasty Plate Helm is now a tier 2 item. Cost decreased. Good, because it's a tier 2. Basically, this tree is now a power tree, physical protections tree, and health tree, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I could be wrong about the health. I just know that it's a physical power and physical protection tree. This item is going to be awesome. the stats are pretty good. 85 power, 40 prots, 100 health, 20 crowd control reduction, and the passive. This is where this item shines to me. If there are ally minions around you, they gain 20% max HP and 20% attack speed. Whenever an ally minion dies around you, you gain 5 power per stack up to 6, last 15 seconds. I like this because it helps sieging. If you're about to walk into a Phoenix, the enemy mage can just obliterate your wave. With this item, they might be able to at least step in the Phoenix so you can shred the backdoor protections of the Phoenix and fight under it. And once they do clear all the wave, you get an extra 30 power. Sounds like a efficient item to me. I don't know. I'm eager to see this item build. Stone of Foul against the heavy magical comp. I'm eager to see this build. Basically, a lot of the stuff stays the same, except for the power goes up a little bit, but the cost goes up 300. But the passive, you gain 20% of the magical protections of the nearby allied god with the highest magical protections within 70 feet. So kind of like a support building auras around you. It's like you buying an aura to bank off of the support. You gain 20% of their magical prots from an item that you're building. Something they don't have to build, you build it. Pretty cool. Ring of Hecate. They gave magical ADCs an item that gives them every stat they want. 2,600 gold, 80 power, 20% attack speed, 12% lifesteal, with the passive of hitting enemy gods with basic attacks gives you 1 stack of 2% lifesteal. Stacks up to 5 times, stacks last 5 seconds. So the passive is a boxing passive. You have to hit enemy gods with this, and it gives you stacks of lifesteal. Up to 22% lifesteal in this item, with 20% attack speed and 80 power. This is awesome for mage ADCs. I cannot wait to start using this item. Whenever I just can't believe that they would put something like this in the game. I love it. Moving on, Charon's coin. It's a really interesting item. 80 power, 20% magical pen, 20 MP5, and on God Killer assist, a coin is flipped. If heads, you gain a stack of 7 HP5. If tails, you gain a stack of 2% movement speed. Each effect can stack up to 4 times, and at 8 stack, this item evolves. You also gain 1 gold. Evolution. On God Killer and assist, a coin is flipped. If heads, you gain 150 health over 6 seconds. If tails, you gain 5% movement speed for 6 seconds. This passive reminds me of Mail of Renewal passive on one flip, and on the other flip, it's like a Talisman of Energy in a passive, but on a 50-50. You don't know which one you're going to get whenever you get a killer assist. So I think this item is going to be really strong. It's got good stats. It's got really good stats. This is also one of 2 magical items that have 20% magical pin on it. So we will see this and or another item being built a lot. Shaman's Ring been removed from the game. It was removed for Ring of Hecate. As you can see, it looks fairly similar, just a little updated. All right, boots changes. They removed 10 magical pen, gave this 20 extra power, but they swap boot costs. So this is now the 1550 item. This is now the 1600 item. There's no stats here changed. They just swapped this, made it more expensive, and increased power by 20 here. So I want to compare these real quick. Shoes of Focus, you get 45 power, if I'm correct, and 10% cooldown. That cooldown stat is worth more to me and probably a lot of people than an extra 30 power on your boots. It would be different if they kept 10 magical pen. The extra 30 power plus the 10 pen is a trade-off from the cooldown here and here. I feel like giving me power and leaving pen makes me actually decide which boots I want. But I still think people are just going to do nothing but pick up Shoes of Focus. But moving on. Tier 2 Ob Shard, Spell Focus, added 10% magic pen and removed passive. Ob Shard. So this is another reworked magical pen item. They increased the cost quite a bit, added 20% magical penetration, and reworked the passive to make it to where your first ability cast gains 10% magic penetration. This can only occur once every 10 seconds. So to give you guys a better perspective of what's going on, the magical penetration penetration cap is 40%. This item has 20. Charon's coin up here has 20%. That is the cap right there. If you build those two items, you're capping. What makes Obshard viable in the sense where you don't have to build it, but you can, is if they have a really tanky team comp and you just need to burn through it, your first ability cast gains 10% magical pen. This can only occur once every 10 seconds. There are a lot of other items with 10% magical pen, so you could go like Charon's coin and then two other magical items with the 10% magical pen stat and just completely scrap Obshard altogether. You don't have to get this in tanky comps anymore. It adds for a more versatile build. This is like they are ultra tanky. I need this extra 10% magic pen every 10 seconds on my ability. Spear of the Magus increased magical power from 65 to 75, and it has a reworked passive. This is subsequent hits of the same ability deal 5% increased damage, stacking 6 times. It's not a magical pen, flat reduction pen item anymore. It's just a increased percent damage item. Not sure if I like this. I have to see it played, but it's definitely unique. I'm kind of sad they're changing this item, but it's probably better in the end. Pythagoras piece, see, added 10 magic pen, remove 10% cooldown reduction. That's great. But they're adding 10% magical protection or penetration in a lot of items to compensate for the weird thing they're doing with Obshard trying to get rid of it's the ultimate tank killer. Now there's a lot of tank killers just in smaller pieces. Typhon's Fang added 10% magical pen, decreased power by 10. Still don't see why you'd ever pick this item up, but it's there with an extra 10 magic pen. Soul Reaver. This item is going to be built in a lot of mage items, or a lot of mage builds, I'm sorry. Added 10% magical pen, decreased magical power by 20. Still get 110 power and 10% pen. Staff of Mirrodin added 10% pen and decreased power by 10. I think this item could be another one that's like juicy to look at now. Warlock's Staff, tier 2, reduced base health by 75 and added 10% magical pen to this item. Reduced base health from 200 to 150, reduced it by 50 health, and adjusted passive 1 health, 1 magical power per stack. Oh, they changed the stacks. 100 stacks to 75 now. 75 health and 75 magical power until you evolve it. This item now provides 140 magical power. That's a lot of power. 225 health, 200 mana, and 10% magical pen. This item could be picked up on the beefier mages, your Hades, your Zhonghui, stuff like that. I could definitely see this item coming back. 10% magical pin helps, and it's a big power item now too. Spirit Deso, 10 more power. That could help it. I just don't see how it can beat anti-heal. Rod of Tahuti, 10 more power on Rod of Tahuti. Sure, why not? Ooh, maybe we could see this item come out more. I love this item. I just wish it was built more. 15 extra power on Soul Gem. Poly, increased power on Poly. I like it. I like it. We get bigger bops and boops on Poly. 10% or 10 power increase. Chronos Pendant. What are we doing here? Decrease cost by 100. Increase power by 10? Really? We're docking the cost but buffing the power? I'll take it. I love Chronos Pendant. People yell at me for building this item all the time, but I absolutely love Chronos Pendant. Telekine's Ring. Increased magical power by 10. Cool. Tier 2 Rod. Decreased price by 200. Oh, okay. So Tier 3's price remains the same. It's just easier to build into this item. And increased power from 50 to 60. Enchanted Ring added 10% attack speed. Yeah, that's a good change. That is a great change. I like that. I've always hated building into the rings and the tier 2 not having the stats that I'm building for in the tier 3. Great. 10% attack speed. I'll take it. I like it a lot. So, Demonic Grip. Decreased magical protection reduction per stack from 12% to 10%. So you can only get up to 30 now instead of 36. Ward Stone. Basically, tier 2 Void Stone. Enemy gods within 55 units have their magic protection reduced by 5% rather than a flat 8. Void Stone basically does the same thing. Increase power from 20 to 40. And enemy gods have their protection reduced by 10%. Instead of the 5. Stone of Binding, decreased physical and magical reduction from 15 to 10. This is a fairly good nerf. I mean, it's a cheap item, but nerfing the protection reduction that much, I would rather see it be even cheaper, but I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. It probably will never get picked up anymore. Caduceus's shield. Oh, it's the physical counterpart of Rod of Asclepius. Basically, same stats, I think. Oh, it is not same stats. Gotta scroll back up to look at it. 30 physical power, 35 protection, 35 magical protection, 100 health. So this is a tank item. Like a tanky hybrid item. Rod of Asclepius is a mage item rather than a tankier item. This is interesting. We'll see how this plays out. Glad Shield. Basically, item's been broken for too long. It's glad to see it come off top. Can I get a woo? All right. Rework passive from only triggering once per ability to subsequent heals after the first from a single ability only heal for 50%. So now we won't see somebody hit 3 to 5 gods and their health just keep teetering back and forth. Good change. Void Shield. This item, it's 50 power right now and a 20 flat penetration reduction. They're increasing the physical protection from, I said power before, 50% protection, or Jesus, I'm having a stroke. 50 protection to 60 protection to enemy gods within 55 units having their physical protection reduced to by 15%. I like this because this makes soul laners, warriors not being able to build this and look at the enemy mage or ADC and them not have many protections. Because it does percent now, and it's basically to be around an enemy tank and help your backline do more damage while you're stunning a tank or something. Basically the same thing, 5%. It's the Void Stone counterpart as well. Silver Branch. Oh, I wish they would have done something different. This is not exciting to me. Executioner. So this is where I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I know a few people already have, but I'm still going to be the one to say it. This hurts hunters a lot. It may be 6% in the end, 12% to 10%. It's only 6%. But hunters are the ones who shred tanks. That is their job. We do that less now. And even less. Decreased max physical protection reduction from 40% to 35%. This not only hurts hunters, which most hunters in a power pen build executioner in size, and then Titan's Bane. Hurts power pen builds a lot. So I would say I'm excited to see how this is going to play out, but I'm not. As an ADC, this is something. Mage gets all these 10% items built into a lot of their items, and hunters get this treatment because in season 6 we got solo farm and we did a lot of damage. Now we go back to a duo lane where we get less farm and we're not going to be as big. We're going to go back to being 3 levels under our jungler, and our jungler is going to look at us and say, "You're fish food," and kill us. And by the end of the game, we're not even going to do as much damage to tank because of these nerfs. I don't like it. But Hydra's nerf. 10% nerf on the basic attack after an ability. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I get it. I do get it. Sometimes you can just die and be like, what did I die from? Oh, they did like 1500 damage in basic attacks. Why? How? They're not full attack speed. Oh, they have Hydras. So that extra Hydras proc just hits mega hard. I see it. We'll see how it plays. I love this. Where they're buffing Poison Star, giving it 10 power. I still build this item, even though it's not very good. Because okay, let me rephrase what I just said. I think it's still a fairly good item. I build it for the crit utility. Obviously, I don't build it for the 20 power that it gives. But I love the passive. I think the passive is great on an ADC, and it allows them to keep consistently tracking and shredding gods. So I'm glad they're buffing it. I already build this item, and I definitely will continue building it with the buff. Wind Demon, glad to see that it's getting some love to be able to match Poison Star's buff as well. I think this buff is a little better than Wind Demon's buff, but we'll see how it plays out. 10% cooldown reduction on Malice. This kind of fits the item because of the passive that Malice already has. It just fits it. It kind of makes sense for it to be there. So good buff. Still won't build Malice, but let alone good buff. Soul Eater. I'm kind of glad this item's getting a change. I think this item could be great and super unique. You get a 5% physical lifesteal increase whenever you stack it. Not just the ability lifesteal, like 5% physical lifesteal on your auto attack. Loneliness Mask, slight buff, 5% to each stat. Fighter's Mask, remove the pin. Increase power on both. Increase power on both and remove pin. Why would you build this? Oh, because it still does more damage on your basics and abilities. I forget that it's not showing the full stats. All right. was long. I'm sorry, but onto God balance now. I'll try to whiz through this pretty quick. The Bird Bomb, the 1 and 2 on Odin are completely unchanged. The 3 is basically like a pulsing ability. It's a big circle around you. That pulses 3 times, and you can choose when to fire it. And he has a stun now. Odin now has a stun. So we can do cool combos like 2 pop your shield, get the bird bomb ready, stun somebody, and confirm your bird bomb, and then ult them to make sure you get the stack on your passive. And what do we have here? A Ring of Spears change. So basically what this is saying is anytime anybody leaves your ult, whether that be Phantom, a blink, a flicker, a jump, a dash, doesn't matter. If you leave the ring, you're getting slowed and you're getting hit with damage. And quite a bit of damage too. So either way you die. Bastet, another I watched this on patch notes on the stream, and this kit is crazy. I'm not excited to get dove by this god. Her passive, basically movement speed. Whenever you hit an enemy god, there's a little red floaty thing around you whenever you're moving, and if kind of like Arachne webs, but without slowing you. She just gets movement speed when running after you if she hits you. This ability is basically the same thing, but it's an instant cone. It's not a sweeping ability like Chang'e 1. New ability on her 3. This, she throws a cat and has a root. So now she has hard CC now. That's basically all it is. Think of Kuzembo Nene Kappa, but with a root if you land it. Ultimate. It empowers all of her abilities. So it makes every ability have something extra. The cats, you can throw 3 cats. You can throw 3 cats. I can't remember what it does to Razor Whip. I don't remember. The leap is a massive looking circle. It's a new targeter, and in the very center there's this little diamond, very small, but if you hit that diamond, it does mega damage, like one shot, instant deleted off the map. So I'm excited to see how Bastet plays, but I have a feeling she's going to be really good, and I don't want to see it because I don't want to get dove by a Bastet. But I'm excited to see her back in played. Achilles. This is a good Achilles buff. It doesn't kill him. It just tones him down a little bit. I actually like this Achilles buff. Or nerf. I'm sorry, nerf. Artemis. 3 power scaling on her 3 by 20%. That's good. I like that. That makes that hit hard as fuck. Baron Samedi. Early game damage on his 1 for clear and poke. Cool. Cullen. Increase power per level from 2 to 3 whenever he rages out. And increase rage gain per god hit from 16 to 26. This is a good change. It helps people that don't know when or how to rage on Cuchulainn to rage on Cuchulainn. Freya. Early game nerf, late game is the exact same as right now. Her passive is 15% base on live patch at the moment. It starts at 10% and scales per level, and which will eventually hit 15. So just an early game nerf. Guan Yu. I think this is a really interesting Guan Yu change. Increases base attack speed per level from 0.9 to 1.2. That's a lot per level. I'm excited to see how fast this makes him swing his spear thing. It's not a spear. I don't know what to call it. Alu. But I'm excited to see how this works, especially with the cleave on his attack chain. Hades. This now, they said this on stream. This now makes Hades the most tanky mage in the game, even with Zhonghui in the game. This is crazy. Like, his base stats are beefy, and he gets 10% damage mitigation whenever he's ulting now, in addition to the protections. It doesn't replace it. It's in addition to. So that's crazy. So these Heimdallr nerfs, they're good. Instead of getting 15% power scaling on his passive, he gets 10. It's good. His 1, he loses 10% scaling. His ult, he loses 20% scaling on the initial hit. This is the kind of stuff that are just gonna have to turn him down with. He needs it. Isis. This is a big hit. This is a lot of her main damaging ability, and it's taking a fairly big hit. It may not look like it here, but it looks like 5. But remember, there's 4 casts of Wind Gust, so it's technically 20. Decreased magical scaling from 40 to 35% per hit. So also a 20% scaling decrease. So big hit to Wind Gust on Isis. We probably won't see Isis banned every game. Izanami, increased return projectile damage from 25 to 35%. Honestly, I like this change because it rewards players for making sure they get the return damage. And it's not the easiest thing to hit whenever you're boxing somebody that's moving super fast in lane. So I'm excited to see how this turns out. And cooldown reduction on her too. It's an early game cooldown reduction. The end is the exact same. So cool. Jingwei. Moment of silence. All right. Let's be real. Jingwei, as much as I love playing Jingwei, she's too good at the top level. But basically, they're not hitting her damage. They're hitting her safety, which is the proper thing to do. Basically, the movement speed buff gets dropped on both ends, whether you just dash by itself or get knocked up in dash. They both drop by 5%. And airstrike, whenever you ult, you don't have as big of an area to where you can land. So it just makes her a little less safe. I don't think it's going to change too much because 15, or let's be real, you don't really get a lot of chances to just dash by itself unless you're desperate, which even then you're probably going to die anyways. If you knock yourself up and dash away, you still get 25% movement speed. That's still a lot. And 10 units on the airstrike landing isn't really that big of a deal either. It could make you die maybe 1 out of 10 times that you normally probably wouldn't have. But it's there. It's a Jing nerf. But, you know, don't tell anybody else she's still safe. Nemesis. Why even buff it? 5% scaling. Technically 10, but why even buff it? I like it. They explained why Nike is actually getting buffs now. I like it. She is performing like a god that loses now. Before, but they reworked Nike, she was winning even though she was bad and everybody complained about her. Now, she's performing bad and her stats suck. So they can now buff her. Ren, 10% damage increase. That's a 30 damage increase. I keep saying percent because of all the percent mage items. 30 damage increase over the entirety of Ren. Base HP 5 increase. And the 2 refire damage is increased too by 20 damage. Good, it's good stuff. Rama. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. 5 movement speed base increase. I like it. I like it a lot. Rama is my most played ADC in the game. I'm excited to see Rama getting some love. Rama now starts the match and respawns from death with a full quiver of arrows. This doesn't matter because by the time you started fighting people, you were already full most of the time, unless somebody was waiting at your tower line because you left early. This could be important if you respawn and have to make a clutch Titan defense. Having all 5 arrows definitely helps. And this, as much as I hate to say it, I've never been so excited for a mana decrease change in my life. 80 at all ranks. I've been playing a lot of Rama the past few days in ranked, and the amount of kills that I wasn't able to get and the amount of times that I've died because I have 100 or like I have like 80 mana, just like 20 mana short of being able to ult and not being able to and just dying because of it. Now I can. I like it. I like this a lot. It is more of an impact than you really realize, because I mean that's a lot of mana for an ultimate for a hunter who doesn't really build into mana. He builds into devos. He doesn't build into trans. Otherwise this wouldn't be an issue. Like, this would be useless. But how most people build him, this is important. I would still, they talked about it on stream, I still would like to see him have an actual passive. I would still like to see it. He has an actual passive according to them. They don't want to do anything about it, but he doesn't have a passive. It's part of his one. Let's be real. Serket. Tank Serket that one-shots you is dead. Yippee. Basically, what this does, decreased damage and added physical power scaling, means that you have to go like full one-shot Serket to be able to one-shot someone. The ability still deals true damage, and her passive still remains, but you can't go full tank Serket and still expect to one-pop somebody anymore. You can still do Serket support. The god still works fine, great. It still works great for that. You just can't one-shot squishies like you could. So, good stuff. So, this ability now applies an attack speed slow along with the movement speed slow. You'll probably feel it. You probably won't feel it, but the enemy you're fighting probably will. Especially whenever you run at the ADC. And 100 damage at max rank on Wukong ult. Might see some more Wukong ult from some good Wukong players. And Thor. Increase cooldown early game on his ult. It makes it less potent early game with Thor. I like that a lot. But look at that. After all that time, we're done with the patch notes. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you later.
So leaving Calabasas with my masters, that's a good day. Then I hit the club up, put my shit on wing late, trying to copy whip for my mama. No cheap sticking by my sister, that matching set for the freeway. Oh, got my dad that car with no roof, got myself one too. Man, that's just how we move. You can hate